Hey my Reddit story lovers, welcome back to Bedtime Blocks. Tonight we're diving into the unsettling. Voices where they shouldn't be, files that know too much, bridges that stretch too far, and hotel rooms that never stay empty. Settle in, get comfortable, and let these stories take you somewhere you might not want to go. Story 1. My carbon monoxide detector said my name. I didn't notice the first time my reflection lagged behind me. I noticed the second when I raised my coffee and the man in the mirror didn't. He just stared back like he was studying a stranger. My kitchen smelled like stale espresso and dish soap, the window above the sink blurring the city into a watercolor smear. I set the mug down. The porcelain clicked. In the glass, my reflection smiled. I said out loud, because hearing my voice made it feel less like a dream. My breath fogged the mirror's edge. The figure didn't fog anything. I tried to blame sleep. I've been sleeping badly. Nights braided with half-dreams, my phone face down, the fan whirring like a faraway helicopter. But there was a new feeling behind my ribs. An awareness, like walking into a room and knowing someone's already there. I tested it. Left hand up. Right hand up. Tilt head. Blink 3 times. My reflection copied everything with perfect precision until I lowered my arms. Then it kept them raised for a fraction too long, like it needed an extra beat to remember the script. I laughed once, quickly, like that would break whatever was happening. Didn't. The laugh echoed too long in the glass. A thin, tinny sound, like a recording played back from a different room. It's a trick, I told myself. Dirty glass. Bad light. I washed the mirror, foam squeaking under my palm, citrus cleaner stinging my nose. When the surface cleared, the man on the other side felt closer somehow, like he'd stepped toward me while I was busy scrubbing. My skin prickled. I lifted the edge of the mirror. It wasn't a cabinet, just a flat panel glued to drywall. There was nowhere for anyone to hide. That night I hung a sheet over it with painter's tape. As I pressed the last corner, something tapped from the other side. Soft, polite, like a knuckle on glass. 2 quick beats that made the tape peel with my hand still on it. Which is how I learned you can cover a mirror, but you can't cover a feeling. I started finding him in places that weren't mirrors. The black screen of my phone as it lit in the dark, catching me with my mouth slightly open and his mouth closed. The taxi window, rain pinstriping the city, where his eyes slid a few millimeters to the left, like tracking something over my shoulder. The puddle near the subway stairs that rippled with the passers-by. Only in the ripple, his head didn't distort. Don't do that, I whispered once to a cafe window, forgetting it was public. A barista glanced at me, then at the glass, then back like she'd decided not to ask. At work, I angled my monitor so it wouldn't show me. My coworker Nora noticed the weird setup. Minimalist? She joked, tapping the edge of my screen. I looked up and caught him in the reflection. Me smiling at Nora. I wasn't. Can I ask you something? Not normal? I said. She shrugged. I like not normal. You ever see yourself move wrong, like your reflections on a delay? Nora blinked. You okay? Yeah. Elite fast. Just tired. That night, I bought more tape and more sheets. I covered the bathroom mirror, the hallway art that had a glossy finish, the TV when it was off. The apartment turned soft and tented, like a temporary camp someone built to hide from weather. The fan kept blowing. The air smelled faintly of dust and lemon. I slept with my mouth open, woke with a dry tongue and a new text on my phone from an unknown number. You don't need to hide me. I froze. Another text. Turn around. I didn't. I stared at the words until they blurred. When I finally lifted my head, I checked the dark window. For a long breath, it showed me exactly as I was. A tired man, phone in hand. Then, slow enough to make me feel it in my teeth, the man in the glass raised his hand and waved. My phone vibrated again. Let me practice. Practice? For what? I typed, "Who are you?" The dots pulsed. No answer. The next night, the sheet on the bathroom mirror had slipped. Someone had written a message in fingertip streaks through the condensation. Not backward, not reversed, perfectly legible from my side. Almost ready, and I realized the thing on the other side wasn't learning to copy me. It was waiting for me to copy it. The morning after the condensation message, I took every reflective thing I owned and made a pile on the kitchen table. Picture frames, a chrome spoon that warps my face, the tablet screen, even the kettle. The apartment felt naked without shine. The light turned soft and directionless, like a cloud had come inside and forgotten how to leave. I waited for the text that didn't come. At lunch, I stood in the bathroom at work and stared at the paper towel dispenser. The thin steel bent my outline into an oval. "Not today," I said, and my breath fogged the metal. His didn't. He leaned in closer than angles should allow, and pinned me with a look like we were already mid-conversation. I raised my hand. He didn't. He tilted his head instead. Slow, curious. That night, I finally texted first. "What are you practicing?" Dots appeared, vanished, returned like someone pacing. "Timing." I typed, "For what?" "Hinge," he sent. "Doors need hinges." "What door?" I asked the dark window. The city smelled like rain and engine heat. My phone lit again. Left, right. Breath. Blink. Cut. Cut. Practice bleed. I laughed. A small sound. No, I put the phone down like it could bite. In the bathroom, I peeled the tape off the sheet a few inches. Cold air flowed out. The mirror was black at first, then found me like an eye dilating. He lifted his hand and touched where my cheek meets my ear, the spot a childhood dog clipped with a paw. There's a thin white scar there. In the glass, the scar was on the wrong side. He smiled when I saw it. Not unkind. Not kind either. Inviting, like someone holding a door. I pressed my fingertip to the glass opposite his. The chill ran up my arm. "There's no door," I whispered. "Only this." The mirror fogged on my side. On his, the fog made a shape, an oval, then a line through it. Open. When I pulled my hand back, a bead of blood sat where my cuticle had split. I hadn't felt it happen. In the glass, the bead was bigger, trembling like a drop about to fall. I wrapped my finger in tissue. The phone buzzed. Almost. Tomorrow. And for the first time since this started, I believed him. I invited Nora over because my head felt like a room I shouldn't be in alone. "I know it sounds insane," I told her on the phone, "but I need you to see something and tell me I'm not inventing it." She arrived with takeout and a frown. My living room looked like a fort. Sheets draped, tape curling at corners, the TV mummified. "You've committed to a vibe," she said, trying to make it light. In the bathroom, I pulled the sheet down. Steam from the shower I'd just run still clung to the glass. Nora stood behind me, close enough that I could smell her shampoo. Orange and mint. "Okay," she said. "Do the thing." I raised my right hand. The man in the mirror raised his left. "That's how mirrors work," Nora said, but her voice had a question under it. I lowered my arm. He kept his up, just a beat too long. Nora's mouth went small. "Weird." "Talk to him," I said, and immediately felt stupid. She leaned closer. Her breath made the cloud sway on the glass. "Hey," she said softly, like greeting a dog you're not sure will bite. The man's eyes slid to her and then, this is what made my scalp go tight. He matched her expression exactly. Her eyebrows, her mouth, not copying me, copying her. Nora stepped back so fast her heel thumped the tub. "Nope." She laughed, a little panicked. "Nope, no thank you." The mirror fog thinned and writing appeared in a clean streak. Legible to us. Nora. Then, beneath it, kind. And then, like a promise that felt like a threat. "Soon." I covered the mirror with both hands, as if I could press the words back in. I'm getting help, Nora said, already moving toward the door. A priest, a shrink, an IT guy, someone. Don't, I said too quickly. The texts had gone quiet for a day, but I felt him attentive in the glass. Practice, he'd said. Hinge. I imagined what a hinge needs. 2 plates, matched holes, a pin to marry them. Breath. Blink. Cut. Nora stood in the hall with her coat half on. You're scaring me, she said. Me too, I said. But stay? Just tonight. She looked at the tented living room, at the sheets, at me. Okay, she said finally. One night. In the mirror, the last of the fog slipped down like rain. The glass was blank, but I could feel him smiling. Story 2. The therapist's do not open folder. I didn't mean to see the folder. My therapist was running late to our telehealth session and left the camera on while she adjusted her mic. The laptop angle pointed just enough at her second monitor that I could read the desktop. Tidy grid, pale green wallpaper, a single folder in the top right corner named Do Not Open MR. My initials. I froze with my smile still on. That weird face you hold when you've been seen but the scene hasn't started yet. She sat down, apologized for the delay, and we got to work on the usual. Sleep, appetite, the new job, and how I pretend I like it. But the folder's name burned through every thought like a high-beamed car through fog. I tried to be an adult. Boundaries. Trust. But I'd been bleeding a little trust lately. 2 months ago, a friend used something I said in therapy against me during an argument, word for word. My therapist insisted she'd never share anything. I believed her. Mostly. Halfway through, her screen froze. Not uncommon. We both live in old buildings where Wi-Fi moves like an injured animal. Her voice buffered into stuttered syllables. Hey, that's FF fair. And the picture clipped into a still, like a personnel badge photo. Then the screen share request hit my side. It wasn't from her. The pop-up said m_room, which is not her name or mine. I clicked decline. It popped up again. Now _room. Secure. I declined again and typed, looks like I'm getting a screen share request? The chat showed my message. She didn't reply. The frozen angle of her face looked almost like a flinch. The third request came with a new icon. A tiny folder with a red circle. I hovered over decline. Then my cursor drifted like it belonged to someone else. I clicked view. For one frame, no more. I saw her desktop again, and the green wallpaper was different. Instead of pale mossy green, it was the exact color of the carpet in the hallway where I grew up. The folder in the corner didn't say, Do not open MR anymore. It said, Do not open, you won't like yourself. The call resumed. She asked me to name 3 things in the room to ground myself. I named the mug, the window, the folder that wasn't supposed to exist. We danced around it for a few minutes. Me trying to sound normal, her blinking too often, both of us pretending the connection had simply hiccuped, until she said, You're somewhere else. Where'd you go? I told her I'd seen a folder with my initials and asked what that was about. She didn't look surprised. She looked tired. It's a supervision note, she said. Strictly internal. Therapists consult sometimes. It helps us not miss patterns. Then why name it like a trap? I asked, instantly hearing how defensive I sounded. Do not open MR? She actually winced. That's unfortunate phrasing. I'll rename it. Please don't, I said before I could stop myself. I already did. We both heard it as soon as I said it. Those words did not belong in that sequence. She leaned closer to the webcam. What do you mean? I opened my downloads folder. A new item sat at the top with the timestamp of exactly when the call had stuttered. Do not open MR1.zip. I hadn't downloaded anything. My hand left my mouse and hovered like it was afraid to touch anything else. I think something mirrored, I said. Or shared itself. Don't open it, she said. The way she said it moved through me like a draft. Not command. Not fear. A kind of gentle emergency. I clicked anyway. Curiosity is a kind of drowning where you swim down because the darker water looks like gravity you can trust. Inside the zip was a single PDF named Hallway in a Circular PDF. Shouldn't have been funny, but I laughed. I clicked it. It was a scanned image of cheap apartment hallway carpet in a nothing pattern. That grayish green you only notice when you've dropped your keys. At the bottom of the page, someone had typed, "If client recognizes, ask about years 8 to 10. My mouth filled with the taste of old dust. I hadn't thought about that hallway in years. The building my mother moved us into when her health started to go bad. All doors the same beige. Every unit breathing the same air. I remembered the carpet because my socks always picked up little fuzzy pills from it, like it wanted to keep souvenirs from us. What is this? I asked, barely a question. Marcus, she said softly. Close the file. Please. You called me Marcus, I said. I never told you my first name. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, she looked exactly like herself again, which somehow felt worse. We can pause here if you want. The PDF shimmered. That's the only word I have for it. The carpet image rippled, and the scan artifacts, the little dots and compression scars, shifted like gnats. I zoomed in. The fibers weren't fibers. They were tiny lines of text printed so small they became texture. I zoomed further until the words resolved. Do you remember the night the fire alarm didn't go off? The cursor trembled under my fingers. I didn't remember the fire because remembering it meant admitting there'd been one. But the question in the PDF nod. Do you remember the night the fire alarm didn't go off? The hallway carpet filled my screen, and the compression grain shifted again like gnats making a picture of heat. Marcus? My therapist said, careful. We can ground. We don't have to. I think something happened, I said. 8 to 10. That's what the note is for, she said. To ask, not to show you. She looked off screen as if someone else might walk in and confiscate her license. I didn't upload that file. The PDF blinked and became 2 pages. The thumbnail on the left showed the same carpet. The thumbnail on the right showed a rectangle of off-white with a little red circle at the top, like a metadata dot. I clicked. A new page opened, and it wasn't an image. It was a layout. Floor plan, labeled Unit 3B, with the stairwell and the trash chute and the LAUN. For laundry. A pin pulsed between 3B and the chute like a heartbeat, and tiny text bled out from the walls when I zoomed. The text wasn't words so much as remembered phrases. Keep the door closed. He's sleeping. I only turned it for a second. I'm ending the session, she said. We shouldn't be in this. It's a breach. The screen share request popped up again, now a softer gray. M_room. Safe. The little folder icon had a shield. My hand shook. I declined. It popped again with a different parenthetical. Supervision. She reached toward her keyboard on her end like she could slap my cursor. Marcus, do not click. I hear something, I said, because I did. Not through my speakers, inside my chest. The way certain songs vibrate your sternum. A low, intermittent beeping, separated by long silences. The fire alarm that didn't go off practicing going off. I'm with you, she said. Name 5 blue things. Folder, I said. Wall. I stopped. The wall behind her wasn't pale green anymore. It was that sick gray blue of smoke light. Her lamp threw the wrong color. For a split second her webcam flickered and I saw down a hallway that wasn't hers. Marcus, she said. And this time the way she said my name made it feel like a doorframe. The page count in the PDF ticked to 3. A new thumbnail appeared with an audio icon. Just a little speaker drawn in lines. I didn't click. Clicked itself. A waveform opened with no playhead. looping like a time-lapse of a calm ocean. My speakers stayed quiet, but the ribs of my chest heard. Felt. Something press. A child voice counting. 1, 2, 3. Breath like someone running with a blanket over their head. Don't stop. Don't stop. I can end the call and phone you, she said. Or I can stay and we don't open anything else. I think it's already open, I said. What's in this room? Her mouth tilted. It's a supervision space. Meta room. A place where we case conceptualize. It's not supposed to know your computer exists. I stared at the waveform. The wave didn't move, but it changed, narrowed where the child took a breath I recognized. Me. 8, maybe 9, the gap-toothed way everything was an emergency and a story. Behind it, a man's voice, not unkind, saying, "It's fine, buddy. It'll clear. Don't wake her." My mother had a migraine condition. On bad nights light scraped her eyes raw. On those nights she put me to bed and then stood with the oven door open to warm her hands the way our old radiators never could. She never asked me to leave the door open. She never would have. The PDF flashed, and the carpet page changed from mossy green to ash white, as if the photo had been overexposed. Letters crawled up from the fibers and rearranged themselves into a line of text right in front of me. Ask him who said don't wake her. My stepfather, I said, automatic. Saying his name felt like chewing foil. I hadn't said it in therapy yet. I'd said my mother's husband, like he could be anyone. Okay, she said softly. We can stop here. Did he? The screen share request arrived a fourth time. M_room, notify. And for the first time, there was a checkbox that said, invite therapist. I didn't click it. It clicked itself with the soft little chime the app uses to pretend it's being helpful. We were both in it before either of us agreed. Her grid of tiny desktop icons dissolved. Mine did too. Our two windows collapsed into one space that resembled neither of our computers. Pale, borderless, lit like morning fog. The folder sat in the upper right, our names stitched into its label. Do not open MR+AH. Her initials, too. The cruelty of it was almost funny. I'm going to unplug, she said. If I drop, do not keep exploring. Call someone in the room with you. There's no one in the room, I said, and the folder pulsed faintly like a hand behind frosted glass. We watched it. It watched us. After a long time, the folder icon split like an amoeba into smaller folders, each with labels that felt wrong in the mouth. Smoke learning, door frame choice, laundry noise. The one labeled door frame choice wriggled, and my mouse drifted toward it without my say-so and hovered. I'm pulling power, she said. The light on her face changed as if a lamp had gone off. She didn't disappear. Her image stuttered and then stabilized. It didn't work, she whispered. The folder opened. Inside, a single text file named, "When you were 8, you chose the hall." I double-clicked and my screen didn't change. My body did. The smell arrived first. Hot plastic, wool sweater, a faint sweetness like singed sugar. Then the sound of the alarm that should have gone off in my building but didn't in this memory, replaced by a voice from a room at my left saying, "Don't wake her. It'll clear." I remembered standing in the doorway between our little kitchen and the hall. The oven door open, heat breathing out, orange light like a mouth. I remembered the way the hallway carpet grabbed at my socks. The smoke wasn't thick. It was patient. My mother slept in darkness, her door almost closed. The choice was to wake her and hurt her head or to listen to the adult whose voice sounded like homework, like permission. Marcus, my therapist said, and the way she said it made the hallway stretch or contract. I couldn't tell which. You picked then. You can pick now. The cursor blinked at the end of a single line that wasn't there a second ago. Wake her/wait. My hand moved to type. Story 3. The Bridge That Grows at Night. 2 miles from my town, there's a bridge that doesn't make sense. In daylight, it's a short metal span over a slow river with green banks and geese that hate you. At night, it's longer. It's not an illusion, and I'm tired of being told it is. I noticed it because of my dog. Noodle is a lab mix with a head like an anvil and the attention span of a firework. I walk him late because I work late, and a midnight town is a nice place if you like the sound of faraway trains and the orange halos of streetlights. We count things together, pickets, steps, because someone told me counting is good for anxiety and it stuck. The bridge has 64 grates across the deck. In daylight. At night, there are more. The first night, I counted 79. I thought I'd miscounted because Noodle tried to eat a moth and I lost track. The second night, I got 83. The third, 90. I started filming my feet with my phone held low and counting out loud. The numbers didn't fix themselves. It isn't the kind of bridge that should change. It's old county infrastructure with a pair of rusting trusses and a plaque that says it was renovated in 1994. It's narrow enough that when two trucks meet, one driver folds the mirrors in and swears softly. During the day, water beneath it looks lazy and brown. At night, it turns black and glassy, like a screen waiting for input. I told my friend Kendra because Kendra collects strange things. Bottle caps with misprints, stories about neighbors no one else sees, lists of clouds. She laughed and said, "Maybe you're just walking slower." Or the town is, I said, not meaning to be poetic. The fourth night, we went together. The bridge felt like it was listening to us, and the air smelled sour, like something that had been wet too long. We started at the same spot, toes to the same crack in the pavement. I pressed record. 1, I said. 2. The numbers tasted like pennies in my mouth. By 3, we were both giggling, not because anything was funny, but because sometimes that's where fear goes when it can't figure out a door. At 10, Noodle stopped and looked back the way we'd come, like he'd forgotten something important at the shore. Kendra tugged the leash and he came, tail stiff, not wagging. 30, the river changed. It didn't get louder. It rearranged the way it sounded, like wind learning a new shape. At 49, my phone's screen dimmed and I thumbed it back awake. The video preview showed our feet and the grates and the quick jerk of the leash when Noodle hesitated, like everything was normal. My mouth was dry. 60, I said, and then paused. There was a small brass plaque I hadn't seen before, bolted to the truss at waist height. In the beam of my phone light, the letters were dull and clean at the same time, like someone polished them too often. Dedicated to the residents of Willow Harbor, 1994 to 1998. Didn't it just say 1994 earlier? Kendra asked. It did, I said, and didn't like how certain I was. It did. Noodle whined, a low flute of sound. We kept walking. My stomach had that hollow feeling like when an elevator stops where you didn't expect. The grates underfoot made that hollow drum sound. The night was the kind of black where your eyes decide your ears are smarter. 72, I said. We'd gone too far for a bridge that only has 64 in the sun. At 81, there was another plaque, same brass, same font, but the dates were wrong. 1952. Just that dash, no second date, as if someone had started engraving and got tired. I reached out to touch it, the metal cool and slightly greasy with dew. For a second, I swear I felt a heartbeat in the truss, as if the bridge had a pulse and we'd found it. Kendra stopped saying numbers. Noodle's nails clicked faster. I don't want to be funny anymore, she whispered. 90, I said, because the number needed somewhere to go. The far shore wasn't closer. The near shore wasn't closer. There are distances that are normal, and then there is this time planked in steel. I lifted my phone and checked the recording again. The timer said we'd been filming for 7 minutes. The GPS dot, which usually smears on the river, sat perfectly still, centered over the middle of the bridge, like the map had pinned us on purpose. Let's go back, Kendra said. Okay, I said, and turned toward a shore we could no longer see. We turned around like you do in a grocery aisle when you realize you've overshot the pasta. No drama. Just pivot, leash in one hand, phone in the other, and the feeling of your spine trying to grow eyes. The far shore, didn't move. The river kept its black window face. Noodle sneezed like a person. Okay, Kendra said too brightly. We count back, like stairs you forgot you climbed. 81, I said, because that's where we were, and walking forward while saying smaller numbers felt like a magic trick I didn't know the steps to. 80, 79. The grate sounded different in reverse. Less drum, more grate like a zipper undone. At 74 I saw another plaque I swear wasn't there. In remembrance of those who crossed, no dates, just a long dash and a tiny etched outline of the bridge itself. The drawing wasn't exact. In the etching the night sky had stars, and one of the stars had a tail. 72, Kendra said, and as she spoke she rubbed her shoulder like it ached. I can't remember the song I had stuck in my head, she added, cheerful like people get when they're about to cry. 71, I said, and felt something similar. A concept slipped through my mental fingers. It took a full breath to realize it was the name of our middle school gym teacher, a man we joked about weekly. His face remained. The syllables fell out of my pocket. At 65 the GPS dot on my phone moved half a pixel closer to one shore, then half a pixel back. Noodle tugged hard to the right, toward the rail, then looked over his shoulder to see if we approved of whatever he'd decided and whined when he realized we did not. 60, we said together like a promise. The air on the bridge tasted like pennies and pond water. 59. Hey, said a voice. Not behind us, not ahead. Below, where the black water pretended to be a mirror. It wasn't a shout. It was the casual hey you give a neighbor at the mailboxes when you've both picked the same wrong time. Hey, it's shorter if you don't look. We didn't look. I've never been good at instruction. Tell me not to think about elephants and I start an elephant newsletter. But there's a way not to look that isn't closing your eyes. It's choosing one thing and making it a god.
I picked noodles kollar tag.
It's a little aluminum bone with a burr where the engraving machine skipped. I stared at that burr so hard it felt like it could stare back. 54, I said. 53. Kendra picked the rivets on the right-hand truss, counting them under her breath, a rhythm laid under the rhythm. We stopped naming grates out loud. Counting quiet made the bridge feel less listened to. I could feel the wanting in it, the way certain rooms want you to make a noise so they can repeat it wrong. 48, the voice below us sighed. Suit yourselves. The river changed pitch, lower now, a note that makes certain speakers rattle. The metal underfoot vibrated just enough to pretend it was my imagination. The plaque with the non-date was behind us. A new plaque approached, reopened 2001. Dedicated again 2013. Again, who dedicates something twice? 43, Kendra said and wobbled. I grabbed her elbow. Her eyes were wet. What did you lose? I asked because by then we both knew that's what the numbers were doing, taking a tiny tithe for each rung back. The taste of my grandmother's apples, she said, embarrassed. You know how the skins were a little dusty? I nodded and lied that I didn't feel anything slipping. But I did. I couldn't feel how my keys felt in my hand anymore. I knew their shape. I couldn't resurrect it in my palm. 39 I broke the rule and looked. Not down, forward. The far shore was there now, a suggestion in the way black meets less black. A tree line maybe made of fewer pixels. We're okay, I said, and the sentence tasted like a coin I'd held too long. 38, the river said. I pretended it hadn't. We reach 30 like you reach a stop sign on a road you've been on all your life and suddenly notice there's a dent in it. 29, Kendra said, voice steadier now that there was a shape where a shore should be. Noodle did that lab thing where he shakes his whole body and becomes a noise. His collar tag chimed like a tiny bell, and it was a relief, proof of brass. At 24, the GPS dot slid an honest pixel. My phone buzzed with a notification and showed me an old photo of the bridge in daylight. On this day, like the app likes to do, the bridge in the photo had 64 grates. We grinned like lunatics. At 20, someone stepped onto the bridge behind us. The metal said so. Not a car, footsteps with the patience of someone who knows you heard them and isn't concerned. We didn't turn. That felt like a baptism we had not consented to. 19, I said, and my teeth ached with the word. Noodle, Kendra said, like a prayer and a command and an apology. At 15, the far shore looked like itself. The same ugly county trash can, the same foxtail, even the same paper takeout bag snagged in the guardrail. 13, I said. The footsteps behind us stayed at a courteous distance, like they had to be invited to close. At 10, a plaque I'd never seen and hoped to never see in daylight slid under my hand. If you are walking backward, you are doing well. The letters were painted white and already chipped, as if lots of people needed this lie. 5, we said. Noodle lunged forward, then stopped so abruptly we took one jointed step around him. The last grate had a little bent corner that I'd tripped on once as a kid. It was bent the same way. My foot knew it and softened. 0, I said, and stepped onto asphalt. The smell of cut grass hit me so hard I laughed. Kendra grabbed the rail and did the ugly cry where your relief scares itself. Behind us, the footsteps stopped at the last grate and did not step off. We didn't turn around. We started walking toward town. The bridge behind us, careful as a breath held, didn't shorten until we stopped listening for it. Story 4. Night Audit, Room 313. I work night audit at a hotel where room 313 is clean, unoccupied, and takes 4 towels a week. If you've done nights, you know that clean and unoccupied is hotel for it's easier not to explain this to corporate. The room is blocked out in the system. The door reads green on the housekeeping board. And yet, every Tuesday and Friday morning, there's a neat stack of damp towels on the bathroom floor of 313 that smell faintly like cold air and cedar. The hotel is a brick box on the edge of the highway with aspirational artwork and the sort of lobby plant that never dies but never grows. My shift is 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., meaning I'm the person who prints folios, unsticks the waffle iron, and pretends I don't hear the elevator making a noise like a violin string being tuned wrong. I like nights. People tell me secrets I don't have to keep because they forget they told them. The quiet tastes like cotton. 313 sits at the dead end of the third-floor hall, next to the housekeeping closet and a window that looks out at the loading dock lights, which buzz the way old neon does in movies. The room is normal. Queen bed, desk, TV that always reverts to the Weather Channel. The only oddity is the shower. The handle tilts left for hot and right for cold like God intended, but if you leave it dead center, the plumbing hums at a pitch you feel in your teeth. Housekeeping has a note. Center equals maintenance, do not leave. The first time I found the towels, I assumed it was a housekeeper's prank. They like to break up the emptiness with little jump scares. Face cloths folded into frogs with googly eyes. A note taped to the back of the break room microwave that says, I see you. I radioed Maria. She said, 313 is blocked, with the exact voice you use when you don't want any more questions. I scanned the lock audit.
No entries.
The door hadn't opened in a week. Still, the towels were wet enough to drip from the corner when I lifted one. There's a point in every night where the building forgets itself and has to reboot. For us, it's 3:17 a.m., right after the pool filter kicks off and right before the ice machine coughs. If I stand in the lobby then, I can hear the ducks exhale and suck in again like the hotel is testing its lungs. That Tuesday, I waited. I took the service elevator to 3 at 3:16, let the rattling stop, and walk the carpet that always smells faintly like heated dust. The hallway lights do that low power dimming after midnight, and they make the exit signs red look too bright, like a wound. I unlocked 313 with the master, even blocked rooms except the master. Corporate trusts keys more than people, and let the door swing slowly so the latch wouldn't click loud. The room air was cool and tasted like the inside of a freezer you just opened. I flicked on the bathroom light and stepped onto the tile. The shower handle was dead center. I didn't touch it. I crouched and pressed 2 fingers to the tile grout. Dry. I rose and hovered my palm under the shower head. Cold air breathed across my skin. Not water. Air moving as if it had mass. I stood very still and felt a thread of it travel along my wrist into my sleeve like it wanted to go further. The hotel breathed. Ducks settled somewhere overhead. The vent in 313's bathroom grill ticked once like a fingernail on a mug. I stepped back and the light flickered, not off exactly but thinner, like there was less light to give. My radio hissed softly on my belt with the open channel sound that means someone has held the button down just enough to tease the circuit. Front! Maria's voice came through, softer than usual. Are you on 3? Yes, I whispered, not sure why. A long pause made of nothing. Then, don't leave the handle there. I didn't put it there. Another pause. Okay. The radio clicked dead. I reached up and nudged the handle 1 notch right toward cold. The hum rose in pitch and then collapsed, like a ceiling fan powering down. The air stopped moving. The silence that followed had weight. On the floor of the tub, water gleamed where there hadn't been any a second ago. A clear oval, about the size of a foot that had stood there and then not. I touched the edge and came away wet. It smelled like cedar after rain, and for a moment I was very sure I was standing in someone else's shower in someone else's summer. A memory that didn't belong to me but fit me like it could. I backed out, left the towels folded, and closed the door. When the latch kissed the strike plate, I heard it. The faucet turned 1 notch back toward center from the other side. By Wednesday, I decided I was done being the kind of person who knows a weird thing and does nothing. I brought a small ceramic mug from the break room, the one that says World's Okayest Manager, and a sticky note. At 2:59 a.m. I went to 313, used the master, and set the mug under the shower head. Sticky note under the mug. If you move, say hi. The handle was at cold. I left it there and sat on the edge of the closed toilet. The fan hummed like a polite neighbor. Somewhere downstairs a luggage cart squeaked a tired wheel. My phone timer ticked soundlessly to 3:16 and then I felt the building do its inhale. Ducks settling, the elevator drifting in its shaft like a fish. The bathroom air thinned. Not colder, emptier, the way air feels on mountaintops in movies. The mug didn't move. The sticky note curled a little at one corner, the glue giving up in slow motion. My radio stayed quiet. I regretted the note. I don't know who I was asking to say hi, but I had invited it. You can't uninvite without embarrassing everyone. 317 clicked somewhere I couldn't hear. The shower handle vibrated under its own idea. The sound wasn't a bang but a tiny, precise tick as metal remembered center. The mug trembled like someone humming outside its hearing range. I reached out and pinched the handle with 2 fingers. Not center, I whispered, and nudged it a tiny notch left toward hot. From the vent came a smell like cedar in the rain. Not strong, just a memory smuggled on a draft. My eyes stung, which is how I know nostalgia is a chemical and not an emotion. I held the handle there and counted to 30. The mug slid half an inch and stopped. It left a circle where the steam that didn't exist had condensed on tile. The sticky note fluttered and lay flat again as if it had breathed once. Hi, I said to no one, which made it easier when the room said it back. It didn't say it in a voice. The word arrived like a label applies itself to a jar. Soft pressure and suddenly you can read it. Hi, the room said and meant it. like someone who hadn't practiced speaking in a while and was proud to make a shape. My radio clicked. "Front," Maria said, voice low. "You on 3 again?" "Yes." Another click, then softer. "Did you put a mug in there?" I looked at the tile like it might be bugged. "Maybe." "Okay," she said, and I heard laundry carts move on her end, the cloth scrape, the metal exhale. Housekeeping log shows 4 towels pulled from 313 today. No pode pulidem. "Maybe the mug dried itself," I said, and she made a non-committal sound that meant she'd been doing this longer than me and nothing surprised her. Not even jokes when it wasn't joke time. After the call, I checked the lock audit again in the back office, running a report for the last 2 weeks. Guest cards, staff master, emergency override. 313 showed nothing but the daily heartbeat the system gives empty rooms. I scrubbed the camera feeds. We don't have one inside 313. We're not that hotel. But the 3rd floor hall cam shows the door. No one used it on Tuesdays or Fridays between 2 and 4 a.m. The only motion was a shadow at the end of the hall near the housekeeping closet. A shape the camera tried to compress and gave up on, turning it into a smear. I pulled up the elevator logs and saw something that put my stomach on a boat. At 3:17 every night, the elevator registers an arrival at 3 with no preceding call. It breathes there for 11 seconds, doors never opening in the log, then continues to 4. No one uses it. It uses us. Back in 313 at 4:12, with the mug dry now and the note almost uncurled, I crouched and pressed my ear to the tub enamel. Far off, like through a long pipe, I heard water move where no water moved. A thread, a stream, the sound a creek makes when winter breaks its back. The handle twitched against my fingers like a bird. Friday, I got stupid brave. I put a towel in the tub and turned the handle to center. "I'm going to stand here," I told the room, as if contracts could be made with spaces. "I won't leave it like this. I just want to know." The building did its inhale and then that held breath hum. The towel darkened as if something heavier than air slid across it. The scent of cedar came in clean and precise, and layered under it a colder smell, metallic and old, like coins kept in a freezer. The light didn't dim this time, thickened, the way sunlight underwater feels like gelatin. I stepped into the tub with my shoes on, ridiculous, because you don't get athlete's foot from haunted air. The tile under the towel was cooler. The cool moved up through the soles and kissed the bones in my feet. The handle didn't fight me, but I felt the idea of center like a magnetic north. I held it 1 notch off. "Hey," I said again, and because it had worked before, "Hi." From the vent above the mirror, a sentence arrived in parts. Each word a colder square in the air I walked through. "Don't leave the handle there." "I won't," I said. "Who are you?" The answer was not a name. It was a direction, which I'm beginning to think is the only language certain places know. "Other side," the room said, and the temperature shifted from suspicious AC to January Creek. A shape ghosted the mirror, not a person, condensation in the lines of a person who had recently been there. The silhouette leaned, like someone reaching to adjust the handle that I held. "I've got it," I said, and felt absurdly protective. The towel slurped, a small, apologetic sound. When I lifted it, a water print rested there as neat as a signature. A long foot with a high arch and the smudged suggestion of a scar on the heel. Not mine. Not anyone's I could inventory. I moved the handle off center, left toward hot, and the humming let go like a hand unclenching. The air steadied. The mirror cleared. The print remained. I folded the towel around the print like it could stay in there, proof that wouldn't evaporate into the corporate ether, and stepped out of the tub doing the math of what to say in a maintenance ticket so it wasn't a maintenance ticket. Behind me, the handle knocked once against the stop. A friendly little tap. Like, "See you Tuesday." And that's where we'll leave it tonight, my Reddit story lovers. Thanks for staying with me until the end. I hope these tales sent a chill down your spine and kept you hooked all the way through. If you enjoyed them, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Bedtime Blocks, and drop a comment with what kind of horror story you want to hear next. Until then, sleep well, dream uneasy, and I'll see you in the next one.